Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all. Welcome to the earnings call of Anu Pharma Limited, organized by Latin Manoharlal Securities Private Limited, to discuss the financial performance for quarter ended 30th June 2021. We will start the call with all participant lines in a listen only mode. There will be an opportunity to ask questions at the end of today's call. If you need assistance during the conference, please signal an operator by pressing star and zero on your phone. Now I shall hand over the call to Mr. Bhavin Shah from Latin Manoharlal Securities Private Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I hope everyone is sound and safe, and I'm sure a lot of things are relieving over our head with new relaxations coming. So certainly a big mental relief. Nonetheless, I think we are back with the quarter earnings of Anu Pharma Limited. I first of all thank the management of Anu Pharma Limited for sparing time to address the investors and address their concerns and queries and highlight the performance. I think broadly what we have observed is the company has been able to report a consistent set of results accordance with the guidance in the preceding quarters. I think let's hear them out, and I will hand it over to Mr. Bipin Shah, the Vice Chairman from Anu Pharma Limited, and we have his team, Mr. Ritesh Shah, the Joint Managing Director, and Mr. Darshan, the CFO. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my esteemed shareholders. I really thank you for the trust shown and bestowed upon Anu Pharma Limited. A little in the history, the company has completed 32 years of its productive operations. You'll be pleased to know that we have been a dividend paying company since more than 25 years consistently without fail, ranging from 30% to 230%. We have also been fortunate that we have been able to give bonus shares approximately at every 5 years. When we look back, the bonus shares were given in 1999, 2006, 2010, 2015 and 2020. And the range of bonus given was for 3 shares against 1 or 1 share against 1. You will also be pleased to know that before 32 years, the company started with a capital of 8 lakh rupees, and today it has a reserve of more than 175 crores. I am glad to share with you that Anu Pharma Limited has achieved a top line of 117.27 crores in April to June 2021 quarter. That is the first quarter of the current financial year. The EBITDA margin for the current quarter is rupees 10.49 crores compared to 5.26 crores in the quarter ended 31st March 2021. The profit before tax is rupees 7.11 crores, which is better than the last quarter, that is the quarter ending 31st March 2021, which was at rupees 1.66 crores. During the last quarter, the sales of glyclazide, ambroxol, azithromycin and sulfadoxine was good, including the pending order status as on 1st July 2021. However, the sales of our old products like erythromycin and pyrazinamide, which is an anti-TB product, suffered somewhat due to corona. It may please be noted that the quarter after quarter we are improving our top line and bottom line, and we are confident to reach our targets made for current financial year 2022. You will be pleased to know that the revenue increase is of rupees 20.48 crores in the current quarter compared with previous quarter, which ended on 31st March 2021. The EBITDA increase is by rupees 4.65 crores compared with the previous quarter, which ended on 31st March 2021. The profit before tax has increased by rupees 5.45 crores compared with previous quarter, which ended on 31st March 2021. Friends, please note that we are temporarily facing some delays and shortage in procurement of one of the intermediate from China. However, we are making alternative arrangements for procuring this intermediate from local companies, and this project is likely to be completed in next 2 to 3 months. The main purpose developing this intermediate locally is to become self-reliant and not to suffer any sales for the want of intermediate. The contribution from new products, that is glyclazide, ambroxol, sulfadoxine and azithromycin, is 44.28% to the total sales vis-à-vis last year's first quarter of 28.52%. Similarly, the conventional products like erythromycin, chloramphenicol and pyrazinamide contributed 42% of the total sales in the Q1 of FY 2022 vis-à-vis 60.3% of Q1 of FY 2021. Export for the year ended 31 March 2021 is 220 crore compared to 147 crore in the previous year, that is the year ended on 31st March 2020. We have also observed improvement in the sale of pyrazinamide and erythromycin in the second quarter, which started on 1st July 2021. The order booked position as on 1st July 2021 is 90 crore, and we are confident that we will be able to achieve our top line and bottom line targets fixed for financial year 2022. We are also making best efforts to introduce 2 to 3 new products for the end of the current financial year. Our new plant has already received steady state. As of now, there is no capacity constraint. The capacity utilization of the newly installed E18 block of 600 tons per annum capacity is 60% for the quarter 1 2021, sorry 21-22, and the capacity utilization of E17, the old block, is 78% of Q1 21-22. And when you take a consolidated combined capacity utilization of E17 and E18 together is 71%. Friends, we also hope to see you at our annual general meeting, of course to be held on 19th August, which will be through video conferencing at 11 am. Let us look at the future outlook. We are pleased to inform that we are regularly getting all raw materials except one, for which we are trying to develop and make it available through a local source. Friends, Anupharma is back on track post COVID-19 lockdown. Advantages of new expansion facility as per our promise: 30% growth on top line and 30% growth on bottom line for FY21. An average EBITDA margin of 12.76% for the year ended on 31st March 2021. You will be pleased to know that we are very safe because of our installation of zero liquid discharge plant, which takes care of safety and our environmental concerns. Our manufacturing capacity is 1,200 metric tons per year after expansion, and our ongoing capacity utilization is 71%. We are pleased to say that we have lowest attrition rate compared to the industry rate. During the current financial year, that is 2021-2022, we propose to invest additional 4 crores in capex, of course from internal accruals, to take our manufacturing capacity from 1,200 metric tons to 1,500 metric tons. Thank you very much, friends, and now I invite questions, if any. Thank you so much.
Certainly, sir. We will now begin the question and answer session. To enter the question and answer queue, please press star and 1 on your phone. If you'd like to withdraw your question and exit the queue, press star and 1 again. We have a question from Nitin Dharamwat from Aurum Capital. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. So just one question that I had. The last point you mentioned about 1,500 metric ton capacity, that is after expansion, right? And by when are you planning this expansion, and how much investment you are making for this?
The investment will be around 4 crores because civil work and everything is ready. We have to only add on a few equipment and machinery, and the investment will be 4 crores, and we hope or propose to complete it by 31st March 2022.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Instruction बराबर follow किए, ये भी बराबर
We
गिरा
have
है,
a
भी
next
बराबर बने.
question from Mr. Sunny Ahuja. Mr. Ahuja,
Yeah, hi. Can
please
you hear me?
ask your question. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So we were talking about the top line and bottom line growing by 30% this year, right? So if I'm not wrong, we have done close to 430 crores last year. So are we looking at approximately, say, between 550 to 575 crores this year? That's the first question. Also, just wanted to understand the impact on Q2 sales due to the raw material disruption from China. And one final question, what percentage of sales are we seeing from the US, say, by 2025?
Your first question is that are we looking at again 30% growth? As per what projections we have made, we should be between 480 to 500 crores top line in AM22. Your second question was whether in Q2 we will have any effect on the availability of raw material from China.
Correct.
It likes that within next 1 or 2 months, since we will be developing a local source only for one of the raw material, because for the rest of all raw materials we do not have any difficulty. So we do not see a big effect on the Q2 about the non-availability or delayed availability of raw material. Thirdly, by 2025, you are asking whether what kind of proportion we will be exporting to USA in view of our US FDA accreditation. That is little too early to say, but a rough guess would be at least 10% of our top line.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. We have our next question from Mr. Saurabh Agarwal. Please go ahead, sir.
Hello, sir. Congratulations on the good numbers. I would like to ask that how much percentage of sales were from the regulated markets, and how many products do we have which have US FDA approval or the European approval?
Hi, this is Ritesh. Currently, our regulated market sales is around 20 to 25%, and we have a EU GMP and WHO Geneva pre-qualification for our erythromycin base, erythromycin ethyl succinate, ambroxol hydrochloride, pyrazinamide, sulfadoxine, pyrimethamine. We have applied also for azithromycin and isoniazid for this approval. Our entire site is approved for US FDA. The inspection was done in 2019.
So currently, do we have any US FDA approval?
So we are selling our products to USA for compounding business right now, and also we are giving a lot of intermediates to the other API companies for their US supply.
Okay, thank you. And I would like to ask that, are we planning to invest for CRAMS or go for CRAMS business, contract manufacturing?
At this stage, we do not have any plan for the CRAMS business.
Okay, but we have some unused capacity. In every quarter, there is some unused capacity, like current is also 71%. So it could be of some use if we go to the CRAMS. Like, why are you planning about it? Just wanted to ask that.
So we have our own new 2-3 products coming up, and we are also seeing a increase in our demand for our products, I believe, which will utilize our own capacity. And we would like to add 2 to 3 products every year for our own capacity utilization. Of course, if our customers gives us a project for CRO and CMO, we are already open for it and we are working on it.
Okay, sir. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have our next question from Mr. Hitesh Kumar. Please go ahead.
Yes, thanks for the opportunity. Sir, could you just help us understand how should we look at the gross margins? Because the whole objective of setting up this new plant was, to get into the regulated markets and also to be able to manufacture some new products where we had capacity constraints in the existing plant. So I think 2019 is when we already had commissioned this plant. We had all the approvals. But then if you look at the gross margins, they have only they've only deteriorated in the last 3-4 quarters, bearing just FY20 Q4 and FY21 Q1. So the current gross margins are way below what you have historically been doing. So, I mean, how do we look at these gross margins heading from here on? What will drive these gross margins? If you can elaborate that in detail, it will be helpful for everyone.
Sir, the new plant was created basically to serve the unfulfilled capacity. We always had a capacity starting from 2015, going up to December 2019, when we inaugurated and commissioned the new plant. Secondly, as far as your clarity on margin is concerned, the ideal margin has to be, if we talk of EBITDA margin, has to be anything between 13 to 15%, and the PBT, that is profit before tax margin, has to be between 8 to 10%, depending on how many tons you sell in the regulatory market. The more you sell in the regulatory market, this percentage will have a tendency to go up.
So this EBITDA margin of 13-15%, you have never done that. I mean, I hope you're taking out the other income and then looking at the EBITDA margins. So those margins were never there historically also. So are the new products that you're targeting, how well are you placed with regard to pricing those products vis-a-vis the competition there?
See, if you look at even the EBITDA margin of April 20 to March 21, there is a year ended on 31st March 21. The EBITDA margin there is also approximately 12.76%. So,
okay, so you're including the other income there. I mean, that other income has a component of your cash, where you make treasury gains as well. So I think the better way to look at is the gross margin, because that is a simple, your output minus the input. So I think all the product development that you do will have an impact first on the gross margin level, because at the other levels you will have your marketing spends, you'll have product development spends and all that. So the gross margin, if I look at historically, you were trading between 24 to 26% gross margin. Now this gross margin in the last 3 quarters has been sub 20%. Despite you coming up with new products where you're seeing a higher traction, you also you have an America contribution also now in your slide, which you didn't have earlier. But the gross margins are sub 20% as against 24, 27%, which have historically been doing in the last 4-5 years.
See, the new product launch like glycoside is giving us the contribution right now at around 15%. And we expect the new products us to continuously give higher gross margin. And once the demand for our main conventional product erythromycin increases, we expect the gross margin as well as EBITDA to go above the current target level.
Okay, but what is the reason for this lower margins in the last 3 quarters, sir? What is the real reason there? Is it the raw material challenges, or is it some particular product where you had a lower mix vis-a-vis the historical average or something?
I think the major reason was corona, related to lockdowns in Europe and US, which also affected the demand supply. But I think that change is happening from this quarter, and we will be able to see that performance is improving continuously in quarter to quarter, as we mentioned in our opening speech.
So Q2, Q3, Q4, at least the gross margin should get back to the levels where we were historically 24 to 27% kind of levels, as against 19%, which is on Q1.
This is what is expected once the resumption in the worldwide comes, because of the corona, the demand was up down, especially of non-COVID products. So now in this quarter we have seen in a lot of countries the non-COVID products have started moving up again. So we should expect this to coming back very soon.
Okay, just lastly, which are these non-COVID products? If you can name them, which will probably...
For example, our pyrazinamide is an anti-TB product.
Okay.
And some of the erythromycin salts like erythromycin ethyl succinate is a pediatric product. Erythromycin 11-12 carbonate, which we export to China, is a pediatric product. All this had a reduction in demand because of the lockdown.
Okay, sure. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We have a next question from Mr. Sunny Ahuja. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, actually just wanted an update on the NSE listing, which I think you had guided for 9 months, around 7 or 8 months back. So are we looking to close that anytime soon? And then there's another question. I guess the previous participant also mentioned that the gross margins were down. And I have been tracking the balance sheet, the income statement for quite some time, and it seems like, the raw material costs have definitely been on the higher side. So any plans on, bringing those raw material costs under control? And lastly, there's a question on azithromycin, where you had mentioned that you were planning on producing it from an earlier stage, where the margins would, scale up. So if you could just throw some color on where you have reached in terms of, that backward integration in terms of azithromycin.
First of all, you have a question on NSE listing.
Yes, sir.
And we hope to close it within next 3 to 6 months. Regarding the raw material cost continuously going high, so the right explanation is that when we sell any final product to regulatory market, then the raw material cost should be anything between 65 to 70%. But when we sell to non-reg market, the realization of the sales price is lower compared to a regulatory market. So there the raw material goes from 75 going up to maybe 81, 82%. Third thing about azithromycin, in azithromycin it is directly imported from China in form of azithromycin only, and the best solution to this is that we request Indian government, for which a lot of efforts are being done, to introduce anti-dumping duty on azithromycin, because whatever azithromycin comes to India, assuming that it comes at $100, straight $13 is the cash compensatory support given to the Chinese manufacturer by the Chinese government. So even if they export at $100, what they get is $113. And the third thing is that in India we are also making from N-1, that is azithromycin amine. But if we go further basic, then we'll have to again depend on Chinese TIO. So probably I think the first best solution is that introduction of anti-dumping duty by Indian government on the azithromycin which is coming from China. This is probably the best explanation that I can.
Right, sir. Just to follow up on that, you had mentioned something where you said that you would be looking to do or make azithromycin from maybe a more nascent stage, in terms of some kind of backward integration. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you had mentioned something on those lines, and that's the point I was trying to, just check with you whether we have been able to achieve that.
We have already developed azithromycin from erythromycin thiocyanate at our R&D lab. We are in close contact with one end user who is willing to buy, and we will take the commercial validation from them. And our commercial agreement is close to, confirm with them, and they are going to sell regulated market for Europe and US. So this is one opportunity that is coming, and we are very close to finishing that.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Ahuja. For any further questions, participants are requested to press star and 1 on their phone. We have a question from Mr. Kaushal Vora. Please go ahead.
Sir, congratulations on Q1Q growth. So can we expect a similar growth in Q2, Q3, Q4?
Yes, we have already mentioned in the opening speech the further growth is expected, especially from our conventional product on erythromycins and pyrazinamide. We are seeing, as we said, we are having a current order book of 90 crore, and the challenge related to raw material is being resolved. We definitely expect similar growth rate continued in the Q3 and Q4 and Q2.
Okay. And one more thing which I wanted to confirm, that the margins you have set for the full year is between 13 to 15% EBITDA margin.
EBITDA.
Is it right?
Yeah, EBITDA we are talking.
Yeah, so is it right? EBITDA 13 to 15%.
Correct.
And revenue you have set for FY22 is between 480 to 500 crores.
Correct.
So, okay. So, if the demand comes up, then we can expect a more revenue going ahead. If you can complete one of the commercial projects which you have said in the last statement, that you are in the close to complete that order, get the order. Once you get we can expect a more revenue in this financial year.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All the best, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vora. Next in line is Mr. Bal Patil. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for very good performance throughout, and we expect similar continuously upside in your achievements. You mentioned that you are trying to integrate on backward sides so that you don't have to depend on Chinese imports. I just wanted to know what is your spending in R&D and how many doctorates are there in your company in
Our
R&D?
on R&D is anything from 300 to 325 lakhs per year. We have a total staff of 22 scientific chemists, including 3 doctorates.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a question from Mr. Sunny Ahuja. Please go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. Also, I just wanted to understand whether, the company is contemplating any kind of inorganic expansion. I know that we have obviously, come up with a new regulated facility, which is going to aid further growth. But, looking at the opportunity and also I think, the different kind of companies that are coming up with a lot of novel products now in India, where, India is obviously trying to compete with China. So any kind of inorganic expansion opportunities you guys are looking at? And also from the point of view of, I believe that you had mentioned about, that everything is located at one particular site right now. So also from the point of view of, diversification and not having a single location concentration risk. So are you guys contemplating any such opportunities?
Mr. Ahuja, we are both the points you yourself have mentioned. Inorganic expansion we are definitely looking for, provided we get a right candidate. Secondly, you have only mentioned as an abundant precaution, it is better to have 2 sites so that your total dependence should not be on one side. So we are looking for a right candidate. Practically every month we get 1 or 2 proposals, but the moment we get right candidate, we would welcome any such.
Okay. Okay, sir. Understood. Thanks.
Thank you. We have our next question from Mr. Saurabh Agarwal. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Mr. Saurabh Agarwal.
Am I audible?
Yeah, please go ahead. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Like in one conference call, we mentioned that azithromycin sales in azithromycin will be able to compete with China. We will be able to give a cost lesser than China. So is that happening right now?
Well, since we are at present making from N-1, while we are able to compete with China, but the price difference is still only 3 to 5%. That means we are 3 to 5% cheaper in manufacturing compared to China, because we are making from N-1, which is imported from China.
Okay. So, and like azithromycin is, we have tried backward integration. So are we trying it any other product?
Even one of the very important product, which is a high margin item called sulfadoxine, which we are making from N-1, which we have shifted to N-3 now since more than 1 year, and we are able to realize very good profit margin from sulfadoxine, plus we have a lot of exclusivity in this product.
Okay, sir. My last question would be that are we planning to enter into animal API sector?
One of our products, again, called sulfadoxine, is also used in veterinary, that is animal feed product, and the world's 2 biggest company are totally buying from us.
Okay, that was good to know, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a next question from Mr. Nitin Dharmawat. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity again. Just a couple of questions. One is, and I'm assuming that we don't have debt on the books. Just wanted to confirm it again from you that the consolidated is nil, right?
Yes, because we are taking some pre-shipment facility because it is available at only 3% or 3.1% interest. Rest of it, we are totally debt-free company.
Got it. And out of context, just wanted to know if we have any IR firm also associated whom we can connect after this call.
No.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you. For any further questions, participants are requested to press star and 1 on their phone. Please press star and 1 to ask a question. Since there are no questions, I would like to read the disclaimer. This presentation may include certain forward-looking statements based on current expectations within the meaning of applicable laws and regulations. Actual results may differ, and the company does not guarantee realization of these statements. The company also disclaims any obligation to revise any forward-looking statements. The readers may use their own judgment and are advised to make their own calculations before deciding on any matter based on the information given herein. No part of this presentation may be reproduced, quoted, or circulated without prior written approval from Anupharma Limited. So we do have one question now. Should I take it?
Yes.
Yeah. We have a question from Mr. Hitesh Kumar. Please go ahead, sir. Mr. Hitesh Kumar, please unmute your line.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity again. So you just mentioned that sulfadoxine is a very high margin product for us. I think it's a pretty old product with us. Any development there that you have done in this particular product in the recent and hence that confidence that this should be a big product for us going forward?
Yes, see the sulfadoxine product, we have a WHO qualification. Our DMF is registered in almost 27 countries in Europe, as well as we have a large contract with the end formulator who is also WHO pre-qualified, and they have got a global fund orders. So the order position of sulfadoxine is very high. The challenge here is procurement of raw material, which we are resolving in 1 or 2 months. We have already identifying local source.
Okay, so this is the product where you have the raw material constraint, which should probably get ironed out in 2-3 months.
Yes.
Okay, and this erythromycin stearate continues to be our mainstay product where we continue to have a dominant share, right?
Correct.
Yes, of course.
Okay, sure. And so just lastly, when you say regulated market, which are these countries that you're really referring to where you have a higher realization of the products? US is one. And within Europe, which are these countries that you would be targeting?
We are already having a good business in France and Spain in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have a WHO Geneva funding, which is the reg market. But the European manufacturers then sell to the African countries because the donor agencies are from Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the top regulated markets that we are catering to, right?
And these are the high margin markets for you, right? Hello?
Yeah. Have I answered you clearly?
Yeah, fine. Sure. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. So there are no further questions. Any closing comments?
We appreciate the interest taken by our valued shareholders, and 32 years a company started with a small stake of 8 lakhs. It is all because of the good wishes and the blessings of the shareholders that we are here, and we hope to grow further up. Thanks, and our best wishes to all the shareholders.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes your conference for today. We thank you for your participation and for using iJunction Conference Service. You may please disconnect your lines now. Thank you and have a great evening.